And I was pretty startled because I'd worked out there several years and never seen anything like this, never heard of anything like this. And I said, "Is this a UFO?" And he's smiling at me and he says, "I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that." What I knew he meant was it was, but he couldn't tell me. So I said, "What are you going to do with this information?" And he said, "Well, we always have to airbrush them out before we sell them to the public."
I was asked to go over to this facility on Langley Air Force Base where the NSA was bringing in the information from the lunar orbiter. And so I packed up some tools. I went over. I went into the facility. A couple of officers took me into this hangar. It was a very large hangar. So they took me into this laboratory. I took a look at the equipment. There was an airman second class in there. I was an airman second class as well. At the time, I didn't know what the real purpose of this darkroom and this operation in this facility was. I thought this was where they were bringing the data in and then releasing the images to the public. They were doing 35 millimeter strips of film at that time, which were then assembled into 18.5 by 11 inch mosaics, they were called. There was a digital signature and a grayscale on every 35 millimeter strip. And those strips were from successive passes around the moon. So he was showing me how all this worked, and we walked over to one side of the lab and he said, "By the way, we've discovered a base on the back side of the moon." And at that point I became frightened and I was a little terrified, thinking to myself that if anybody walks in the room now, I know we're in jeopardy, we're in trouble, because he shouldn't be giving me this information. And then he pulled out one of these mosaics and showed this base, which had geometric shapes. There were towers, there were spherical buildings, there were very tall towers, and things that looked somewhat like radar dishes, but they were large structures. If I compare it to what I'm seeing now, because I do have photographs that have artifacts in them that are similar to what I saw, they're massive. Some of the structures are, half a mile in size. So they're huge structures. Some of the buildings seem to have very reflective surfaces on them. A couple of structures that I saw reminded me of cooling towers at power generating plants. They had that sort of a shape. Some of them were just very, very straight and tall with a flat top. Some of them were round. Some of them looked like a Quonset hut, with a domed kind of, like a greenhouse. The particular shot that I saw, there were several clustered together over a landscape, a fairly large landscape. I didn't want to look at it any longer than that because I felt that my life was in jeopardy. And I knew that young fellow who was sharing this was really, really overstepping his bounds at that point.
The Lord commanded the Israelites to utterly destroy certain named tribes, for the Lord knew that it was part of Satan's plan through these tribes to re-corrupt mankind, so that the promised Redeemer could not be born according to God's promise. These were the races of giants, referred to in many places as the Nephilim, Adam, the Anakim, etc. Goliath and his brothers are believed by many Bible scholars to be some of the last of these half-human monsters. Channelers, shamans, medicine men, voodoo, New Agers, Satanists, Wiccans, all are hearing the same messages, and all clearly identify Christians as the enemy of all mankind. We know the source of those messages. The messages are always the same. It is the Christians who are preventing this from happening. With our hateful insistence on worshipping a non-existent tribal deity, which we have mistaken for the real God of the universe. According to the Bible, Jesus Christ will take away his body of believers from this planet. 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken, and the other left. 2 women will be grinding with a hand mill, one will be taken, and the other left. Matthew 24:37-42. After this, the Holy Spirit will be removed from earth, and depression, anguish, suffering, total chaos, and everything that is unholy will be released from the hellish realm upon the earth, and the Antichrist will reign all nations. Revelation 13:14-15.
Supernatural tales come from. I'm about to begin a journey into the belly of a beast that has no body. In this film, I'm going to hell and back to find the truth behind demons. Demons have been with us forever. Every culture since the beginning of time has feared these disembodied evil spirits that vex the world. But today, we're beyond all that. Surely. A couple of years ago, I saw a TV show about exorcisms still happening in Italy. What you're about to see is unique. It's a verified recording, not a reconstruction. Sit back and watch a demon possessing a human being.
Nel nome del Padre, del Figlio e dello Spirito Santo. Signore Gesù Cristo, Dio di perpetuo Padre, Dio universo.
According to her parents, 16-year-old Martina has suffered from possession for 10 years. No one could help her but the exorcist.
Aspetta Maria, è di Cristo, è di Cristo, è di Cristo. Ecco l'acqua del Signore, il demonio esiste o non esiste?
Esiste il demonio!
Come fai a dimostrarlo? Come fai a dimostrare che esiste?
Le guerre, tutto!
Ma questo...
Io esisto! E chi non ci crede bene!
Ma questo...
How do you begin to make sense of that? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to start my search for demons by plunging right into the heart of the Catholic Church, the Vatican. If you think demonic possession has fallen between the cushions of history, think again. The Catholic Church has been